Good evening, and welcome back to the Pastor Study. Asaph, who was one of David's worship leaders, writes this in Psalm 73, verse 28. But it is good for me to draw near to God. I have put my trust in the Lord God, that I might declare all of your works. All too often we feel far away from God. When we do that, it's hard, although probably not impossible, for us to rejoice when we feel that way. Because much of our rejoicing is in itself a feeling, a response to our sense of whether God is there or not. And in one sense, our verbalization of this is a bit strange. If as we claim to believe God is continually everywhere, how can we be far apart? If he's genuinely omnipresent, and that's what we mean when we say everywhere, as we claim, it's physically impossible for me to be very far away from him at any time. We know he's there. The Bible tells us that. It really kind of reminds me a bit of Jacob in Genesis chapter 28. When he had his experience with God and his dream or his vision of the angels going up and down the ladder. He woke up the next morning and he said with a sense of wonder, God is in this place, and I didn't even know it. We've got our theology right in our heads, but sometimes it's a bit more difficult to get it down into our hearts and our spirits. We know that God is there, but sometimes we don't really know it. We don't experience it. I guess that's the way I'm trying to put it. And I think as a result, many Christians are trying to be happy apart from having a sense of God's presence in their lives. And the sense of joy that's supposed to be our strength just isn't there without that relationship with the Father. I'm not talking about salvation, but rather our relationship with the Father after our salvation. And that really is the crux of the matter, our relationship. For when we speak of God's nearness or his farness, we're really speaking of the current strength and depth of our relationship with him. In Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 13, God speaks to this very issue, and he makes this statement: "You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all of your heart." You see, wherever we are, he is there. Literally right where we are, just waiting for us, like Jacob, to recognize his presence and respond. Let me urge you this evening, don't settle just for the knowledge that you're saved and you're on your way to heaven. God has so much more for us as we grow in relationship with him. We can't begin to know how good that's going to be until we step up in our relationship. And it's more than just being in his literal physical presence, but being relationally in his presence as well. Seeking him and finding him, as Jeremiah said, when we do so with all of our heart. I look forward to seeing you next time in the Pastor Study.